Well, I gotta tell you, don't worry about it, because karma's a bitch, man. Sometimes it comes in form of a bitch. Anyway, talking about silver here. You know, we know that some of our nation's woes have been due from maybe political interference from George Soros, but, you know, I think his personal life has some problems, but he's one guy, though, to follow as far as money goes. You should follow him and pay careful attention to what he says. I don't think he's 100% evil on the inside, but, you know, anybody that makes that kind of money's got a devil streak. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, the thing is where we might have a little bit of karma for old George Soros. Maybe someday there might be a split up in the White House couple and Michelle Obama will be available and he can marry her. He can marry her. He put him in the White House. Maybe that could be his next wife. You know, she could do 25 push-ups. He can't even do one probably. And he might even be in a butt headlock one of these days, you know, with him, you know, done. Anyway, just want to put out some news about metals tonight, actually, and Sunday night. You're going to see them move up as long as, you know, this is bad. It's bad news on one front, but this is the reason you got the metals. You know, it's like you don't hope for the worst, but that's your insurance policy during times of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty going on in Ukraine, and this is actually one of the reasons that you're seeing palladium go up. In the back of their mind, even though this is kind of unrealistic, in their back of their mind, they're kind of worried about, you know, since Russia's got sanctions on them, they're going to probably try to strike back with the West with some kind of materials or something that Russia produces a great deal of, and, you know, that might be palladium. You know, that's always been my feeling on this anyway. But, you know, you can see now it's well over 800. It's been climbed a lot on Friday. It climbed again. Now, it could pull back again. I mean, if news in the Ukraine smooths out a lot, maybe we will see a big difference and a big pullback. And, you know, that's what happened after the Crimea situation. But, you know, these political events are actually going to greatly affect the metals. And, you know, Vladimir Putin has said he really wants to federalize or balkanize the Ukraine itself. He wants to divide it up into a bunch of puppet states. And, you know, Russia wants to do that to the USA, too, right? Remember Igor Panarin's predictions in 2010 after the, he said he was predicting in 2009 at the bottom of the financial crisis that by the year 2010, the United States would split up into 6 parts. You know, hey, man. I mean, you know, it's like one thing not putting up with some garbage maybe from Washington, D.C. or some crazy rules out there, but it's another thing splitting up and then going under something else that's maybe worse, like China, Russia, or basically, you know, I'm going to put it to you this way. I'm not so naive to think the political process is really the deal. It's actually the corporations, right? It may be big Chinese or Russian financial interests that get their claws in the United States and, you know, through the Bureau of Land Management or however they do it, right? Treaty-making powers, water management, I don't know. Wetlands management, I don't know. You know, they'll do it that way and screw over your property rights. So, you know, actually this deal, remember, with the Bundy thing with, you know, I know Harry Reid was involved with that too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here big time. But it's all interconnected to the big corporate world. You know, it's like we got the bad guys maybe up there in, you know, Wall Street or something like that. But that's not the only bad guys. You know, Russia Today likes to make it sound like they're the only bad guys in Wall Street. And Russia's got some serious oligarchs, man. They got more skewed wealth over there than there's even in the United States. And I think Vladimir Putin himself, the front man, will make Lloyd Blankfein look like a pauper, okay? I mean, you know, that may be an unpopular statement because, you know, you keep hearing all this crap from the alternative media all the time. Oh, the only bad guys are up in Wall Street. That ain't true, man. But anyway, I just want to say something else here, too, because, you know, you're looking for some other news out there for what's going on with the markets, maybe, or what's going to happen to the price of silver or something. But this could have an effect on it because no more, the SEC has stated no more of the electronic high-frequency trading. They're going to actually go after these people that are basically skimming off the top and taking from the markets from all the other people. You know, the high-frequency traders. You know, they always like to portray it like it's just a battle amongst themselves, but they're battling amongst themselves for top dog, but while they're doing that, they're slaughtering everybody else. You know, they're actually moving and running the markets. Actually, even when we had the NASDAQ meltdown here recently, you know, it was high-frequency trading and the hedge funds really helped contribute to that. Maybe it was a little ahead of itself, but they make bigger swings in the market too. But they could cause bigger swings. And, you know, this has been the case always, even back in the 20s, you know, and before that, or the Panic of 1907, it was alleged that J.P. Morgan himself was the one that, you know, helped along the Panic of 1907, before the computers, right? It's the same age-old game, you know? You trust these people? I don't. You know, that's really why you go into physical metals. But, you know, the thing is, it looks like the global tensions is really what's going to bring up the price of the metals and the price of crude oil. And the price of crude oil, unfortunately. Now, I got to say this about palladium. You know, if palladium goes up a lot, I'm going to tell you this: you better watch your car. I don't want to say this in a joking manner, but you know, when palladium actually hit $8.50 an ounce, and you know, it's like $8.11 or something as I speak. I don't know if it's going to keep going up, but I think it's going to eventually be more than the price of gold by far. You know, maybe not this year, but who knows? Pretty soon, maybe a few years. But it's going to move up pretty good this year, even along with everything else, gold, silver, everything else. But the catalytic converter on your car is usually, depends on what it is. If it's a medium-sized car, maybe it's worth $70. If it's a large car, it might be worth $90, $95. Well, there's people that go steal those with little sawzalls. They'll go, they'll cut them off. So if palladium goes to like the price of gold and say it hits, you know, $2,000 an ounce or something like that, or maybe even goes more than that, you better watch your car. I just want to put that out here right now. I mean, I'm not trying to say one thing or the other, but it just gives you some practical advice, because these things are probably going to be missing from cars pretty, I would imagine. You know, in other words, if palladium's $2,000 an ounce and a catalytic converter on a large car, on an average large car, is $90, well, I guess at $2,000 an ounce is going to be worth at least a couple $100, right? So, you know, somebody can go in here and saw it off and trade it in, you know. It's not like they got, like, barcodes on them and stuff. You know, where'd you get this catalyst from? Oh, well, you know, maybe people aren't even going to ask. I don't know. I don't want to give people ideas, but I also want to warn people that, you know, that's something to watch for if palladium goes up really, really high, you know. Scrap value of catalytic converters. Unless you're driving a 72 something or other, you know, 1972, before they had these things in these cars, you know. But anyway, high-frequency trading, it looks like the SEC is going to be cracking down on high-frequency traders. Out the door, man. Out the door. And, you know, I know a lot of times, you know, I give you a little thing about Soros, you know. To tell you the truth, I don't really, totally dislike this guy all the way, because I see other aspects to him that I don't like how he's trying to tear down America, but he's not really on the side of America or Russia, to tell you the truth. He's on the side of the New World Order. That's what the hell he's on the side of. I don't know what the hell. I think he's actually got some, in his mind, he's even, well, I don't want to ad-lib on that because I know everybody that's pretty much makes a lot of money does have an evil streak in them. They do. They all do, pretty much. You know, they wouldn't be making that kind of money if they didn't. But I'll tell you the truth with Soros, actually, his payback is the ladies. You know, they get him one way or the other. I mean, I know he's got into personal fights and stuff like that, and there's all kinds of, you promised me this, you promised me that, and, you know, and Soros, you don't know what the hell a Lukowski coil is. He's going to get more looking like a frog every day, you know, the way he's going. And so, I don't know, maybe he'll get hooked up with Michelle Obama and she'll straighten him out, or whatever she is. You know, I don't even know, man. I've heard some rumors about her, too. But that would be a hell of a pair, man. He put them in the White House, and they'll say they get divorced. She's available, Soros. Go for it, man. 25 push-ups against 0. Man, that'll be a contest. That would be his karma, for sure, man. Anyway, and that's usually what happens with a lot of these guys. They have a lot of money. They're like total tigers in the business world on their personal life. Forget it, man. They're like a freaking doormat. A lot of them are, man. It's unbelievable. I've seen this shit too many times. I'm like, holy shit. Wouldn't trade such place with you, pal. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have put up with that shit. Anyway, but, you know, Soros has got his problems too, you know? So, I don't know why I'd lived on this too much. But, actually, I do want to reemphasize, though, that the major alternative media, and I'm not saying the major media, I'm saying the bigger alternative media are run by the Russians, man. You know, they pretty much are. They pretty much are. You know, you'll never see anything pretty much against the Russian ruling elite. You'll never see nothing against Vladimir Putin. You know, you don't hear a damn thing about this crap. You know, they're all a bunch of saints, according to the alternative media. You know, I'll give you a good example out there. Old Max Kaiser, man. He's like, man, this guy, you know, I used to listen to him a long time ago. I didn't even know what the hell he was, you know. He'd be like ragging on the EU and all this kind of crap like that, the central bank. He'd be ragging on the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, or whatever the hell it was. You know, and that's when I first started listening to this guy. I don't listen to him anymore because I realized, you know, he's all one way. And, you know, I agree with that shit what he's ragging on, but he never rags on Vladimir Putin, the oligarchs, none of that stuff, which makes me think this guy's getting paid by these guys, man. You know, I don't know. Me, you know, I'll tell you the truth, I'm totally independent, you know. Somebody actually even goes over to my channel and asks me, you know, you want to be partners with this, and you want to do that. I just do my own thing, you know. And this isn't the only thing I do with YouTube or anything either. You know, I work in the accounting and shit like that. You know, I mean, I do other stuff. You know what I mean? I do this. It's just I like doing this though because I could do car stuff on these YouTube videos, and I could do the health stuff, and I don't have to just do accounting stuff. But that's mainly my stuff in finance and accounting. But actually, I'm gonna tell you honestly. You're probably, you know, people are going to probably puke at me telling you this statement, but it's actually a fact. For the most part, the U.S. financial people, even in New York and New Jersey and, you know, wherever, you know, the big cities and stuff. I'm from New Jersey, New York area, like, you know, right outside of New York City, New Jersey. That's where I'm originally from, but there is a lot of integrity there, a lot more so than you think, believe it or not. People up there are workaholics. You know, I'm going to say right now that what went on in Ukraine with Yankovic and the one that was before him that he replaced, but actually this guy was even worse, you know. In Russia, you know, the Russians are getting ripped off. They got a crooked system going. They got crooks in there left and right. The Ukrainians are getting ripped off. I mean, you could say it's all from the West. No, it isn't all from the West. It's bullshit. It's just like, I don't know what the solution is. You know, I really don't know what the solution is. But relatively speaking, actually the West in banking system and the kind of like securities blankets we have, I know the FDIC doesn't have enough funds to cover everything. But there's a lot of tests out there with the banks and stuff too. It's not the West isn't really as screwed up as the alternative media makes it sound. It really isn't. I like to see it get better. I like to see all the corruption uprooted. You know, I mean, I'm not going to go cheer on things like a blind cheerleader, but you know, there's a lot of places that are freaking far worse than in the West. You know, like the BLM, right, comes over Nevada, and they try to take Bundy's ranch, you know, and all this kind of crap hooked up with, I don't know, Chinese interest, Harry Reid, or whatever the hell it is. You know, in China, what would happen? They'd be screwed, right? Right? Over in the USA, they get together, man, you know, they got the way to stop them, right? Right? So, you know, why did they have the way to stop them? It's because we got some laws still in our Constitution that, you know, you can say the Constitution's this and that and they ignore it, but it's still there. We can, you know, it's an effective tool to help you keep your natural rights going. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't like playing this shit too down and down on the USA too much. I don't. I know. And I'm not going to. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like a total cheerleader for the USA. But I'm going to tell you this again. Vladimir Putin is a bad guy, man. And what's going on in the Ukraine, you could say it's partly, the European Union want to get their tentacles in there and stuff, and NATO and all that. Yeah. But it's also Russia. Russia's doing stuff too. Those protesters and civil militia, those are Russian troops, man. There's like the Spetsnaz and whatever the hell they are. That's what's going on. But it's going to drive these tensions are going to drive up the price of the metals and oil. So if you're holding metals, you do good. And considering that Russia's doing a lot of stuff today, palladium's going to go up a lot. And I don't think Soros even has any palladium, so that's good. I mean, he's got other stuff. He'll win out. That guy's going to win no matter what you do. But, like I said, I don't know, maybe someday he'll get, a real good lady like Michelle Obama, she can get divorced someday and marry George Soros, That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I'd like to see that happen. Then, if he thought he got in trouble with the last one, with the little fist fight, that lady will, with her 25 push-ups, probably going to knock him out. Wham, So anyway, I'm going to tell you the truth, though. A lot of these guys that have a lot of money, they're, like I said, they're tigers in the business world. They're doormats in the personal world. That may be the case with Soros, too. I don't know. I really don't know, to tell you the truth. But I do know that it's the case with a lot of other people. And don't envy some of these people with money, man. No way in hell. No way in hell. Ridiculous.